Hi, I'm Mike Sheridan and you're very welcome to The Delve. Paddy Holohan is a former UFC fighter and one of only 2 Irish fighters to headline a UFC event, which he did right here in his hometown of Dublin. Since he was forced to retire from professional fighting a couple of years ago, Paddy has opened a new gym in Tallaght, SBG Dublin 24, where he also coaches. He also started an extremely popular podcast, No Shame, where he interviews a fascinating array of people every week from his studio right in the gym. Paddy, thanks a lot for coming in. God, like I said, I did your podcast, the No Shame podcast, I mentioned there at the top a few weeks ago, and we've shared a few guests as well. I had Philly McMahon on last week, you had him on a few weeks before. But since fighting, and I want to get into the fighting a little bit in a while, obviously. I've seen you headline Tree Arena, I've seen you fight in Tree Arena before that as well. You've been really smart about how you've structured your career after fighting. You know, you've got the gym in Tallaght there as well. SBG Dublin 24, and obviously you've got the podcast. Was this the plan all along for the post-career, for the post-fighting career? Were you always planning for retirement?
I'm always planning. I'm addicted. I have like a disease. It's like when I'm planning something, I just literally just get lost in it, and that's the only thing that I become obsessed with it, if you must, you know. So with the podcast was something that I've always wanted to do because I get so many interesting people passing through. And I'm one of these people that like asks the non-conventional questions, if you must, you know what I mean? Like if this is how I kind of explain it to somebody is if someone's watching the Kardashians, I want to talk to the people who are cleaning the house.
Yeah. You want to get the real dirt.
I just want to get the real dirt. I want to know. I don't know. I just think it's weird about. There's so many different interesting people out there that are. People always want to talk to the most famous person, or like where I've always been different. I've wanted, like, say when we're working with the UFC or something like that, I strike up relationships with guys that move the rigs, you know what I mean, that put the cage together. I've like really good relationships with these guys. Don't know why, but we're other people that are trying to get relationships, I think, and network if you must.
It just feels like you can relate to those people 100%. A bit more. Like, like somebody that's working at an event that's just a normal whatever.
And they're always the boys with the best banter. You know what I mean? They're always the ones giving you a bit of stick, and you can kind of bounce off a little bit. So the podcast, that's where that kind of came off.
Yeah.
The gym has been a dream since I started. I really believe in martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as like a medicine, if you must. Where it was never for me. I never joined to be the baddest or learn how to strangle people and stuff like that. To me, when I started it, I accidentally fell upon something that was helping me. When at the time I was a little bit more of an angry, like kind of, I wouldn't say it was teenager, probably an angry teenager at the time, and I had a little bit few chips on my shoulders, and I could have went anyway, left or right. And then when I just happened to fall into the Rackcool gym with one of my mates, Dean Donnelly, he's the kid coordinator at my place now. And we found John's gym, and it was medicine, you know what I mean? It was more of a, wow, this makes me feel so good. It's like I was getting the same feeling that guys get when they come out of the gym, say after running or lifting weights or something.
There's the endorphins after training.
Yes, but this to me was, I never got it that much from the gym. The gym I got outside and it's like, right, what now? I never really got that, but then that was the first time I experienced kind of like the effects of exercise, but it happened to be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for me.
And it's a very similar story to Philly McMahon. Philly said the same thing. He said the same thing on your podcast, and he said the same thing on this show, where he was channeling aggression. You know, he was kind of angry as a kid. There was a lot going on in the area that he was from and his family and all that stuff. And he was obviously had some sort of genetic, you kind of have to have some semblance of genetic gifts to be a professional athlete
100%.
or to train as professional athletes. Do you see it with other sports as well? Do you see it with other athletes in other sports as well? It's not necessarily just MMA, it's just you need an outlet for that aggression, because obviously you've got the kids there now as well, the teenagers and stuff in there training a bit too. Yeah,
like 100%. I can nearly see the people. I can see myself in, like, I can see the kid of myself. When I was coming up and I was training, I was doing things, I thought maybe I just fell in with a group and I was just lucky, you know? But then when I look back at it, I'm like, no, when I'm looking at trying to get other people to do the bleeding work, do you know what I'm saying now? I'm like, maybe we were dedicated. Maybe we were above average. Do you get what I mean? When it came to working and it came to like not asking questions and stuff. Like sometimes, like there was times where if John had asked me to get down and open the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning because he needed me to do it, I would have.
Yeah.
And that was it. Now it's like, oh, hold on, Paddy, my cat is sick, and I have to look after the cat, and you know, like, and where there'll be times where I'd be paying guys to run the place. Where when we all first started, there was no money for coaches or for anything. It was like keep the gym going, keep everything going, you know. But now we're like, guys get paid, and sometimes I'm still having to get them out of their beds, you know. But
they don't realise, you know, and as well, it wasn't that long ago. Like the first UFC Dublin was 2009, but the UFC Dublin, that, you know, iconic night was what, 4 years ago? Coming up on four and a four years ago.
Yeah, July 18th.
You guys were trailblazers. A lot of you guys were trailblazers that night. You were the first fight out that night. You came out at 5:30.
Yeah.
And the play, like for prelims, for anybody who isn't heavily into the UFC or MMA or whatever, prelims are generally, there's nobody there. You know, everybody's off in the bar or they're coming in, because the events can go on for 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes. It was packed to the rafters for your fight.
Yeah, it was mental.
And so you guys are real trailblazers in that sense. The younger kids probably just don't realise that, or the people that are coming up just see it now as, oh yeah, you know, you go into the UFC and you're famous, and that's it. They don't realise the hard work that goes into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of work that goes into, I won't say characters, but you have to have a character.
Yeah.
You know? You have to have that kind of the stuff that separates you from something else. And I was always who I was. You know, I was the hooligan, and that's who I was. And people could relate to that, and people enjoyed that. He was like kind of like that, like the bold kid or something with him. You know what I mean? But I was very likeable. I was respectful. I was humble. You know, all of them kind of things, because that's the way I was raised as well. And I want to represent my name, and I want to represent my area and where I come from. And I sometimes it gets a bad kind of shadow on it. But I want to make sure that people go, and be a refreshing part of that. You know, so the idea of that Dublin event, I didn't know it was going to be like that. You know what I mean? I didn't know.
What was it like when you first walked out there? Because you went and headlined the show next time in Dublin, which was amazing as well.
I could nearly feel it in my face. It felt nearly like wind. Like it was crazy. And John had said to me just before it, listen, this is like, get ready, like this is the last 2 minutes of your normal life. And I remember just being like, what are we on about? And we strolled out the door, and then like the minute it clicks in, then all of these people are behind you and all. You know, I didn't really see that, but I could feel it. I could feel that energy, and no one could have beat me that night. You could have put me in there against Demetrius Johnson that night. I would have beaten him. I would have beat anybody that night. There was no one beating me.
It was a rear naked choke, wasn't it? You finished with a rear naked.
Yeah, first round, and I dropped the guy. So that's what I mean. Like, I had these superpowers in me where that night, if you had to touch me, you would have just bounced on me. It was that kind of way. And we're in the middle of it, and all of a sudden, all you hear is, ole, ole. I'm in the middle of the tree arena here, punching some lad in the face. And ole is getting sang, you know. And like they say the World Cup '94 squad and all. I was like, I get in it. You know, like I would be a friend of Conor, and I would be a fan as well.
Yeah.
I was much wrapped in all of that stuff that goes on. I love that Irishness.
Yeah.
When Bernard Dunn was coming up, I loved that. When I was a kid, Steve Collins was fighting. I was loving that, you know.
We have that kind of ability in the nation to really 110% get behind somebody, don't we? I mean, there's always going to be naysayers. I think particularly with MMA, because it's still a new sport, people don't get it. And you know, it's very easy to tarnish it with certain brushes. I made a documentary about it, and I'm still like, every once in a while I'm on radio or I'm on TV and I find myself defending it. Is that frustrating for you? Because I know it is for Owen Roddy. Obviously, I train my own, and you know, Owen's for years trained kids and taught them about movement and everything else. And then when one negative thing happens in the sport, it just seems to carpet bomb the entire sport of people's opinions of it.
Definitely. Like, if you look at the newspapers yesterday, some of the newspapers should be ashamed of themselves, and that's just being out straight, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of these people that are writing this stuff in these, they don't do their research, and they don't know, and they don't bother to come to some of the places that they should to see it. Because I know for a fact that it's very, very rare you'll see a front newspaper of what I'm doing in my community with my gym. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'm fixing people, and that's it straight. I'm not getting no fund. I'm not getting paid off the government to do it. I made my own building. I got in there with a hammer and a saw, and I built that gym to do what it is doing. I've got 50 teens. I've got probably 100 in my kids program. That's 150 kids that are now in a direction that's going somewhere else. Write about that stuff. You know what I mean? Don't write about always just the minute you get the easy stuff. And this happens in the media all the time now, and it really annoys me that negative, and it's probably, I'm only noticing it now because I'm older, negative stuff is the only stuff that gets put in front,
Yeah.
and negative stuff is the only stuff that people like. If I did an interview on a podcast with somebody that was about a charity or something like that, and you know yourself, you know the traction and the analytics that come back on the backside. You know what people like, and it's, I don't know whether we're hardwired like that or we've been made like that. Through advertisements and through all of this kind of stuff, because in the media we don't want to see the nice stuff. We don't want to like that or put attention to that or helping people if you must. I know if we look at the analytics at the back of a podcast where it's being, say, for a charity or something like that, nobody isn't it. But then if you put some, say, rock star that, you know, you say that, whoa, everyone's attracted to it. And I don't know what that is, but if we could fix it in a way that we could make news by like helping people or not being so negative, maybe it changes how other people think as well.
I think it's kind of a headline culture, and I've said this before.
Yes.
I think it's almost a headline culture. I think if you Google somebody or if you Google a thing, you're going to see 3 or 4 stories, whatever, come up on the front page of it. You know, unless you go in depth on any of those stories, read maybe a couple of articles or whatever it is and have a balanced, nuanced opinion on it, you're not going to have a balanced, nuanced opinion. You're going to see, like if you Google MMA or whatever, one of the first things that's going to come up is probably going to be Pride. Or UFC, you know, in 1993, 94, no gloves, you know, gouging, all that stuff, or even in Japan now, head kicks. It's a very different thing, and it's a difficult thing to have to explain to people as well. Like it's a tricky thing to have to go, look, this is how I make my living, and I'm doing good. I know I'm doing good.
Yes.
You know, I've seen the change. We spoke about Max Lally. You had his mum and dad on your pod and on the No Shame pod, and what you've done for that kid and what's been done for that kid is incredible.
Yes.
Talking to his dad. Can you talk a bit about Max and I suppose Max's journey?
Max is a great kid. His parents are great as well. You know, his dad's a blue belt now, and his dad's a Sparks. You know what I mean? He's an electrician. He's that good guy. You know what I mean? And Yvonne is another great person. You know what I mean? In the fitness industry, but then Max and Christian, two of them. He's just a great little family there. You know what I mean? But Max is exceptional. You know what I mean? When it comes to jiu-jitsu and it comes to being like dedicated as an athlete, he kind of reminds me of like that old school mentality. You know what I mean? He's doing his work. He just puts his head down and he does his work and he keeps going for it. You know what I mean? Where I think a little bit of a culture can come in where someone does work and then they look up and post it. Didn't I do good? Didn't I do good? They go do more work. Didn't I do good? Didn't I do good? Where some people just shut up and do work. You know what I mean? For a long time. And then the benefits come, you know what I mean? Well, Max is the epitome of that. So,
like, I was speaking to Max's dad, John, that time in the gym in SPG Charlestown, and he's saying, like, Max has autism. I have a nephew as well. He's just gone 9, and he's autistic as well. And I actually sent him on the podcast that you did with Max's parents.
Oh, cool.
With John and Yvonne to say maybe this is something that you could get him into, because John was saying he's come on leaps and bounds since he started doing jiu-jitsu. But this is something that you don't hear about.
No. Definitely not. To me, as I said, I see it all of the time. And if doctors could write a prescription for jiu-jitsu, I'd give it to somebody. Now, I don't say for everybody, because then people come back to me, yeah, but what about the people that do need the drugs and need this? Let's be straight with it. There's so many people on medications and stuff like that for depression and something like that they can fix with it. I say it's like people that have lost their life juice, if you must. Just sometimes we just get like that. And you need to get a different group of people and just ruffle yourself up again, you know what I mean? And I think jiu-jitsu was a great way of doing that, because it's something that it makes you nervous, which makes you sharp and makes you think about it. But then you realise that it's not as crazy as you think. And all of a sudden you're meeting these great people that are just like me and you and that have been humbled, and where in people's heads they're going in to be like, to be strangled, to be like, it's not...
To have a fight.
To have a fight.
It's different.
And like, there's guys that I have a guy that trains with me, Colin his name is, and he was on FM 104 doing a talk about jiu-jitsu. Now, he used a lot of words of like, well, I'm just about to die, and I'm like, Colin, don't use them words, please. But like, people they get something out of it, you know, when they're caught in a submission or they're caught in a choke or something like that, and they tap and it's over, and we look around and we're not fighting now.
Yeah.
We're just laughing and we touch hands and we bump fists and we go again.
Yeah.
There's something special with that, and especially there's a camaraderie, and that's what everyone just wants to belong to something. Yeah. Everybody, no matter who you are, you want a sense of belonging, and I think jiu-jitsu does that, and the clubs all over the world, you know, it doesn't have to be my club. Can be anyone's club.
You could be in New York on holiday, you could be in Florida on holiday,
exactly.
and you could be like, I'm going to drop in and roll somewhere. Like, it's that kind of camaraderie,
yes.
isn't it? All these different gyms around the world. Yeah, and it's just something I think it's difficult to convey to people that don't really, understand it or who don't want it. You know, it could be about anything as well. Everything needs context.
Yeah, well, if you start talking to me about badminton, I probably don't want to know about badminton. So I do understand that in that sense, So the idea of me, I've tried to explain it to people. I've got a few good ideas now in the future for, as I said, to me, I'm now on kind of like a journey and a mission to try and help a few people and try and help the situations going on and try to understand the world a little bit, you know what I mean? Because we went into the media just before that and it was like, there's so many things that go on that like you see a post on Facebook and say something could have happened in Palestine or Syria or something like that, and no one cares, no one really cares anymore. And we're in a life where sometimes like there's a lot of bad things going on in the world, and if everyone put it all over the front of the newspapers, people will be, there's no way that's happening. And it is happening.
Yeah.
It's happening in some places where like, I'm really, really connected into trying to help that type of thing, you know what I mean? Because I understand it.
Yeah. I want to look back at your career as well, a little bit as well, your fighting career. How is it looking back now? You've been retired a while now. How is it looking back? How do you, like, you had an incredible record.
Yeah.
You know, was it 2 losses? 11 and 2.
Losses, yeah.
Like that's an unbelievable record and some of the best nights.
12 and 2.
12 and 2, sorry.
Yeah.
that really does matter. That really does matter.
That was a man I had to meet in a location fighting for that.
You're dead right, you're dead right. How do you feel looking back on your career now? You must be proud looking back. Have you had enough time to be a buffer?
Do you know what? I have probably never watched a fight back. I very rarely watch fights that I've had back, you know what I mean? I should, but I just don't, you know what I mean? Kind of puts me into it. It's good and it's bad. Sometimes I still want to be fighting, Mike, and that's just being straight. I want to be fighting, you know? I want to be in there. I want to be doing what I'm doing.
Why you had to retire? It was a blood issue.
Yeah, I was born with a thing called factor 13 deficiency, which is a haemophilia, but it's like on the outside of haemophilia. It's the last factor that comes to your blood. So if you get cut, all of the platelets come, I still clot the same way you do. People are like, oh, that means you bleed, you don't stop bleeding. No, it's not like that at all. The last one that comes is like a platelet that seals the clot. And the clot can fall back into your blood if it doesn't seal. Now, my body doesn't create that, but I can take that.
Yeah.
I can take that same thing, and that's in my body as much as it is in your body. And then we're all good again. But it's like, yeah, no, but you have to get a doctor to say that. No doctor's coming in and saying, yeah, he's sound, let him fight. If I ask the doctor, should I do UFC? Should I fight in the UFC? Should I do MMA? No, don't. Because that's what they'll tell you anyway. Like when it comes down to cutting weight and it comes down to stuff like this and all, like when you're talking to doctors about like cutting weight, they're like, what are you on?
They can't wrap their head around it.
I remember a guy pulling me in Canada in the corridor and going, man, you look very dehydrated, have some more. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm making weight. Of course you look dehydrated. I'm going to be on the scales in a bit. I'm going to be in a bath for about an hour. So I did this to myself. But they can't understand that, you know what I mean? And I do understand, because when you see people going, wait, it's like, whoa, it's going to be scary. So, like, but I think at that scale, when you're getting in there and you're fighting someone and you have done it for so long, that it's like, right, maybe he knows a little bit more about the idea of what his body's like when he's fighting in there. But it felt like someone just took control of, no, we know more than you on this, and they took it away from me. I say let the man fight. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that must have been unbelievably frustrating. I can only imagine. Yeah. Still frustrating, especially when I'm seeing guys in there like that. I'd murder some of the guys in there, Mike, and I'm more mature now, you know what I mean? Like, there was a while when I signed for the UFC that I fought 5 times in like 18 months or something. Do you know what I mean?
And that fight in Canada was a fight of the night, wasn't it?
That was a fight of the night, yeah. My first ever loss, that was as well. Yeah, it was it.
Just trust you to get a fight of the night for your first ever loss.
Yeah, I did. But they paid for that They paid for that to go. So that was one thing that I got out of it. Because I remember actually sitting there when the news came through that I was sitting there and I was like, I can't believe that. And then I think it was actually Aisling Daly who was doing my corner at that time. And she told me, you had to get in the bonus. You had to get in the bonus. She found out on Twitter, like, because I didn't get it at like the press conference or anything like that. And I was like, you're messing. And she showed me it, and it's like, 50 G's, baby. That's a life-changing number to get, isn't it? Particularly when you've been earning a few £100 or maybe a couple of grand as a pro. But not when it comes through your letterbox, Mike. Yeah. You know what I mean? When it's 50 grand to everybody else, but it's about 27,000.
You're paying tax and everything on everything.
Everything. You're in Canada, you know what I mean? And it has to come through your letterbox, so you don't just get it and then you go and cash 50 grand. Yeah. Like, I think there's people thought I had 50 grand in my house. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. You have the tax and all of that stuff. So it is a big yay, and then it's like, oh no, it's only 20 grand. Do you know what I'm
If
saying?
you had known that from the start, like, look, I need to temper my expectations.
They should say
here.
that. I should have made a rule. If you're gonna give me money, make sure you tell me that after tax point.
I remember you, Cotland, all the guys, Neil, Siri, Gunny, everybody, and Conor sitting there at the end of the UFC Dublin in the press conference, and Cottle got the bonus. There was a few bonuses going around that night, and Cottle Pendrick got a bonus. He came back and beat him in the second round, choked him out in the second round. And I was like, is it €50,000 or $50,000? And he was looking at Dana like...
And Conor was campaigning there, and he was, Dana, give Paddy one as well, go on. And I was like, fair play to you. And John Dana said to him, give him half of yours. And he's like,
sorry, Paddy.
But we were still at that stage. But what a moment, a lot of Dublin lads sitting there on a thing talking about €50,000 and who was going to get it and who was not going to get it and all. And to me, it's like, well, sitting here now, this is a few lads in a shed that we could have been a group of guys that just passed through Dublin's history and were never ever heard of. And there's a lot of groups like that, I'd say, you know. And we just weren't. We were the ones that stayed. We were not too far ago. We were posted across the River Liffey. I'm driving down, getting ready to go to Tree Arena. Wow. Mental, still mental.
Do you still get those nerves when you see when you're at fights or when you're at? Do you get that nervous energy when you see the cage, you see everything getting ready?
See, I've had a few weird things happen to me lately because I have my own little group of lads now.
Yeah, you've got your own fighters coming through.
Yeah, and we're in the stage now where we're the hard stage, I call it, because when you're developing, I think, especially as a group of fighters, or just my observation is there's a lot of losses. There's a lot of losses because everyone's still getting over that, like, right, I'm in a fight, and then he hits me. Oh, he's hitting me. I should hit him. Oh, it's over. Do you get And they're like, damn, I should have swung at him. I'm like, yeah, you should have. But then they're like, I will the next time. And then they go back the next time, and then they do. Because they get over, some people have to get over the flight of it, and then some people are just born scrappers. You know what I mean? Like, I would say, like, me and Roddy and stuff like that are just born to, you know what I mean? If it's going down, it's going down. And that's it. You just have to hit me to activate it. Do you know what I mean? The last thing
Sounds like a warm up. It's like stretching for most people.
Yeah, it's like, hit me. And then we're on. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like the Hulk or something. You're trying to get that out of you. But I think that some guys are not like that. Some guys are clever. Now, I have a few guys with me, and there's one or two that there was a time, right, where Gunny Nelson and Conor were on a bag. I've told the story before, and one of my friends named Stephen Dunn said to me, like, what do you think of them? I said, see the two of them. They are special. They are beyond special. They're further than they're gonna transcend what's going on. And he was like, really? And he's a big UFC fan. And then, like, he still says to me, I can't believe you said that to me.
You called it.
I can't believe you said that to me. I could just, with Conor, it was just always inevitable that he was going to be huge. Like, he was having the same trouble now, or then than he was now. People wouldn't fight him, and like, going back and forward on boards with people and all, like, and telling people, this is what I'm going to do, and I'll fight anybody in Europe, and people were running scared from him then. Like, and this was before he even had really took off in cage warriors and stuff like that. So we've got a few kids now. There's one or two of them where I'm like, oh my goodness.
You can see it.
I can see it. Like, there's some, I don't want to say because you blow their heads up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But some of them are exceptional.
It's a personality as well, because it has to be mindset too, because again, we talk about genetics, we talk about, athletes will gravitate towards, naturally gifted athletes will gravitate towards certain sports. So now I think with the success of, Irish MMA fighters like yourself, Cathal, Owen, obviously Conor as well, more of those kids are going towards MMA or going towards jiu-jitsu when previously they would have went towards GAA or would have went towards rugby. You've seen that now. You've seen those kind of little athletes that are a bit special coming into the gym.
Yeah, my own young was the opposite. My own young started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and now he's in GAA. So, no, he's back in anyway. But yeah, I see. That's mad you say that, because I actually train groups of kids with GAT for GAT. So I'm trying to get, as I said, as many things in my community as I can do is link to and kind of show them what's going on in this building, you know what I mean? And I've done that, so I take groups of GAA guys in and I put them on side control bottom, and I get like the big guy to try and escape 10 people in a row, and then he's tired. Then I put the small guy on him when he can't, and it kind of shows them, wow, like, it's not about being strong, and it shows them what's going on in their sport. As you said, different athletic. The GAA lads I fight always do well in MMA, I see a lad coming in with a pair of GAA shorts on. He's like, "Can I do the advanced class?" And I'm like, "You can, yeah." Because I don't know what it is, but GAA lads, you know yourself, they just have that about them. The adaptability.
It's a tough sport, yeah.
Or the adaptability even, like, you know what I mean? They kind of like, they take instruction, they know what to do with it, and they go with it. I've got one of the kids that actually, a few kids that came from the groups that came in as the gag teams, and are now doing jiu-jitsu as well as GAA.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant. They're exceptional. I said the other day to one of the kids about something about like the gear plays camogie, and I was like, "Oh, so you do GAA as well?" He's like, "No, I play camogie," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's a Gaelic associate. It's a Gaelic game." No, it's not. I'm like, we're having an argument with 2 kids, and there's and this is how I realised about 20 kids sit forward like, it is a Gaelic associate. How do you know? So I play for Nans, there's loads of them.
Yeah.
They're flooded through the gym.
It's the same kids with similar backgrounds to you that just have that energy, and they're trying to find an outlet for the energy.
Exactly, and they're trying to find the idea of the competitiveness as well in it, but with that humble and respect as well. You know, you can just tell that they're well-raised kids.
And you see that's something I say to people all the time, that aren't maybe huge fans of the sport, or a Conor fight is happening and then there's more of a focus on the sport, and it's like the toughest guys I know in MMA, guys I train with, are not nerdy, but they're very respectful, you know, like, and they're into their computer games, or they're into their comics, or they're into their whatever. Yeah. And it's those lads that turn up in the gym that are, you know, want to start training, that are a bit aggro, that don't last, because like you said, the humility, you have to have that humility to really progress in the sport.
Joey Breslin would be.
Yeah.
Joey Breslin.
He's SBG Swords.
No, Joey's with me.
Oh, Joey's with you, sorry.
Joey's with me. Joey's jiu-jitsu coach in SBG Dublin 24. And yeah, Joey's like Harry Potter with ninja skills. That's the way I describe him to people. Like,
that sounds dangerous.
He's one of the, I suppose, yeah, Harry Potter has got the wizard skills or something. I mean, wizardly turning people upside down with a wand. But Joey would be a good example, is what we always say is, like, when guys come in, look, like, this guy's going to coach it, and they're like, oh, that guy. You know what I mean? But then they roll with them and they can feel that it's just a different universe, a different level, and it's not like this big, strong black belt guy standing there looking at you going, right, 10 push-ups. Because that's what's going on in people's mind. They're looking at Karate Kid, you know, like the strict dojo. What was that one called?
The Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai, yeah. They're thinking like that, you know, where it's more like, come on, Mr. Miyagi, to
There's
be
no cranes.
Yeah, it's more Miyagi vibe, to be honest, you know. It's more relaxed, it's more figuring it out together, it's more going at your own pace. I think that guys that come in and they're worried about, well, I'm not fit enough, I'm going to get fit and all, and then I'll come to join the gym. And they say, like, well, it's grappling, so you have to, you know yourself, there's a certain fitness in that in its own.
Well, it's about the calories you burn wearing the suit as well. Like, people still think it's hilarious. The suit's called a gi. People just piss themselves laughing all the time. But that is what it's called.
I just call it a kimono.
Yeah, kimono.
Because I'd be screaming across the class and there's parents and all there, and they're like,
what's he saying?
I can see the awkwardness going on.
Well, you might burn 1,500-1,600 calories in a class wearing that.
Yes.
Because it's hot and it's all the collar grabs and everything
and
else.
the resistance changes. So it's like, where you lift weights, you know what you're lifting, you know what's going on. But like, if someone decides to like, no, not today, the resistance changes, you know, and you don't really know what you're prepared for resistance-wise.
Yeah.
Unless you go into a beginner's class, figure out how the moves work. This is what I say to people. It's like learning how to play chess. If we're sitting here watching a game of chess and you don't know how them pieces move, you will have no interest in that. It would be the worst probably hour of your life. But if you figure out how the pieces move, and then all of a sudden you can kind of see how he might win and he might win, and it starts to go back and forward then. So then you can see the competition in it. The thing about jiu-jitsu, it's like you have the ability to carve your own pieces. So if we come up with something that works across the world, it could transcend the whole sport in a day. And that has happened over and over and over again. There's Darce chokes, Bravo chokes, named Eddie Bravo, the footlock game from John Danaher's taking that apart.
That's the vicious stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's still developing so well. And as I said, you have the ability to be a kid and come up with something and say, look at this. Now, I'm going to have all the kids next week coming up to me saying, when I show you this? And I'm like, don't show me anything. They have a flying gorilla monkey lock or something. You know what I mean? But there's some crazy stuff that kids have shown me where I'm like, that has something. I remember a kid showing Roddy something in a kid's class, and I was like, that's brilliant. What he was doing was, the guy had guard on him, Mike, and the kid was reaching around and grabbing the top foot and like footlocking him. Kind of footlocking the guy from
you hadn't been taught that, it was instinct.
He just started to figure it out, as I said. If you give them the basics, give them the basic tools, all of a sudden this game starts coming about.
And the confidence as well for young kids too. And we were talking about that with Max. That's what it is. You're teaching these kids confidence. And that's something that I think is really important. It can come from any sport, you know, it really can. But something like, you know, there's teams in MMA, but there's not really teams in MMA. You're on your own in there. Yeah. And that's something that you have to kind of deal with. And it's good for kids to learn, I suppose, that element of it too.
Yeah, sometimes you have to be on your own. You know what I mean? It's a great development tool in the aspect that this is what I say, it hijacks your thinking. So some kids are going home and say they're in bed at night or they're on social media, and sometimes they're asking themselves questions like, am I a good-looking kid? Do people like me? Do I fit in? Are these shoes nice? Do I wear the right clothes? Maybe, you know, and then all of a sudden they start jiu-jitsu, and this is what kids say, people say to me, this is where I've got this from. Parents saying, the thoughts are just being hijacked. It's just like they don't think about anything else now. And I'm like, that's a good thing. It's a good thing because they're not sitting there thinking about because there's a doubtful voice in your head and he talks to you. And sometimes you can listen to him and some days you can't and some days you don't. But some days, I know for the fact, sometimes I listen to him and then I'm like, man, I'm a little bit down today. But then I have this little saying that I always say to me, be a warrior, not a worrier. Do you know what I mean? And that's a great thing. It always kind of like releases me straight away. I feel great when I say if I'm getting a little bit like, right, I need to do this, right, I need to do that, and then shit, this is not going to happen, and I could just start bringing myself. And I said, hold on, you know, get away from that. We only live once. We only get a little while here, and that's what it's about. And I think that's what happens with kids. That's where they really come out of their shell, because they get hijacked with their thoughts. And they're thinking about jiu-jitsu, they're thinking about arm bars. They're online and now they're YouTube and jiu-jitsu. Then they're finding these guys
little sponges. Yeah.
Yes, and they're finding guys that are like people that they'd see in an airport, like they could see Keenan Cornelius in an airport or something. I'd be like, no one would know who he was, you know, but me and you, Mike, will be like, all right, what is that? How do you do that worm guard? How do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They go into a whole different kind of universe and that makes them belong to something again. It makes them feel like, I belong to something here, you know what I mean? This is my group, this is my thing. And you don't need a football even.
It's funny now when you see super famous people cage side at fights. We saw it like the 2 UFC Dublins and stuff from the past few years. And we saw it this past weekend with, or we're recording this the week after the Conor fight, where Conor fought Khabib and Matt Damon, Chris Pratt, Drake up on stage with a tricolour, like a tricolour wrapped around him. And all of these, I think, this is the thing, all of these athletes, I know particularly Chris Pratt from talking to him.
The mad thing about
they're mad into the MMA. They're like, they want to be. They're looking at athletes like you guys, going, whoa. You know, these kind of people who have excelled in their fields.
I think the idea is because even what they do, no matter, like, they know how nervous that is, and they're like, but they still probably couldn't imagine doing that. Now, and rightly so, because they haven't prepared to do that. Like, I haven't prepared to do what they do, or they haven't prepared to do what Conor's doing. And that's a huge part of it as well. Because I used to say if a fight comes in, you can get a little bit like, right, a fight's coming. But then I used to always remind myself, you're thinking here with an unprepared mind, you know what I mean, for this person. So, and a cold mind as well. So sometimes if a fight came in, you get that little bit like, right, this is going to be a tough one. I'd go running. And then halfway through my run, I'd be, yes, I feel great. He's getting it. Do you know what I mean? Because don't think with a cold mind. Sometimes a cold mind will tell you not the doubtful voice is louder then, you know. So with these people, as I said, they're looking in with a mind that, like, wow, that'd be crazy. I couldn't imagine stepping in there. But you know, you've done it, so probably there was a day where you couldn't imagine stepping in there. But a prepared mind is different. Because I know looking at the Mike that's sitting here and looking at the Mike that was getting into that cage that night, he's a different man.
Yeah.
Because you're prepared, and you're prepared.
It's like I used to be afraid of public speaking, you know, and now I do a lot of public speaking for work and stuff as well. And it's funny seeing Roddy Owen would be terrified to speak in public. Now he's amazing, but at the time, I remember getting into the cage going in front of all these people going, I wish I just had to talk now. It'd be so much easier.
I know.
We shouldn't have to fight anybody. But that fear is good, obviously, as well.
Yes.
Like, you had that at a level that I can't comprehend. I can't begin. Like, 99.99% of the people in the world can't comprehend, because you headlined the show in Dublin. What was it like? What were those moments like? Just walking out before you, I think it was a script song you used. It wasn't the song that you wanted, but I still like that song.
Do you know anything? I lost twice in the UFC, and both times I came out to the script. I don't know what it is. I swear.
The script course?
I listen to the song in my car and I'll be like, this is a good song. But then I put it on in a stadium. not so good.
that song ended up my playlist and all after that,
Oh,
Paddy.
it just, but when you listen to it in the stadium, it just doesn't do to you what you're expecting it to do of it. Now, there's times I've came out the songs, and music does get me. I came out to Salvation from the Cranberries, and my God, that was like a rocket, you know. It was like I was taking a drug when it hit the door. And then I came out to Celtic Symphony in Glasgow. That was amazing.
Knowing your audience.
Half of this side were throwing bottles, half of this side were, yeah, rebel. There was guys saying to me at the bar after that, do you know coming out to that song was braver than fighting? We didn't realise.
Yeah.
I just thought, like, it was just at this time I was bouncing around with songs, but coming out in Dublin, yeah, that was mental. There was a few things in that I won't say got to me, but they did.
That was a crazy week because you weren't the headliner until very late, and there was a lot of like, people getting injured and all that stuff.
100%. And I would have, do you know what? They should have given me the headline at the start. And that's why I was...
That's what Conor was campaigning for.
Yeah, but Joe Duffy got the bleeding headline. Let's be straight, like, you know what I mean? Joe Duffy is, like, he's not Irish, you know? They call him Irish Joe. If you called me Irish Paddy Holohan, I would be offended.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? I am Irish, and it's easy to see. You don't have to put it in my name. So the idea, I should have been the headline from the start in that. That's what I think. And if I had have been, not that I would have been more prepared, but it would have been nice to have a few weeks to know that you were headlining the whole show.
Wrap your head around it.
I had what, 48 hours or something like that, and I found out on Twitter. So no one rang me and said, Paddy, would you like to do co-main event? I found that out on Twitter. And like only an hour later, it's like, Paddy, you're the main event. And it's like, no one rang me to tell me.
So you just had to wrap your head around that then?
Well, you were sitting in my house in Jobstown finding out that was the main event. It was good though, it was cool. It was hard, as we said, the whole, it's grand. What's the difference, you know? The only thing that did get me about that whole thing was we walked a different way.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, hold on, it's not this way. What are you talking about? No, the main event walks this way.
It's a longer walk out, yeah.
I don't know what it was, you just came through a bar or something like that, now, without all that. But then there was loads of stuff going on at that moment as well, which is pretty crazy, and like maybe down the line they talk about, you know what I mean? But when I was walking up to that fight, it was crazy. It was just like, just get me to the cage, man. I want to rip everyone else that's around me here away. Yeah. That's what I want to do.
You want to just get in there and do it.
I just want to be there on my own now.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. I want to be in there on my own now. That was because at the moment it was getting crazy. You know what I mean? There was little crazy things going on around us, and then when I got in there, it was grand. Yeah. Now, if you could give me that fight again and again and again, I'll fight it again.
I remember talking to you after that, and you were obviously pissed off that you'd lost, like, you know, any elite athletes, but that was a back and forth. That was a chess match.
Man, that was a good fight, and there was times the way you look at it is sometimes it's like, I had to retire after that fight. And people are like, did you retire because you lost? And you're like, not a chance, because if I lost the next one, I still would have fought if they had
you're 28. There was no way you were going to retire.
Not a chance, man. I'm still be going. But that, as I said, that's the way it goes. But the idea of that fight was that he was a good lad, and I wanted to fight good lads, you know? Like, I called him. I was the one who called him out. Do you know what I mean? So I wanted to fight him. He was a good lad. He was tall, rangy. I had his back. There was one time I had his back, and now I know how to finish the choke, you know, that's how it works. Where I have my head in close, I have one arm around, but he's holding onto my other hand. But now I know how to finish that choke with the one arm, you know. And in that moment, I had to finish that, and then like walked off into the sunset. I mean, that was a crazy little moment to have on your things, and then basically we would have been retiring on the back of doing the main event, and then or doing the opening and then doing the main event and stuff like that. But
it's like two real bookends, like incredible bookends.
Yeah, 100%. But as I said, as obviously the book is never over, you know what I mean? The book, I'll just keep planning and keep going after the stuff that I need to go after, and as I said, I'm on a new little mission now.
You probably got your head melted more than me, I'd say, but I was getting my head melted about the McGregor and Khabib fight, and who was going to win and who I thought was going to win. And what I said was, anybody that asked me, I said I think Conor finishes him in the first 2 rounds. Yeah. Because I saw Eddie Alvarez, Conor McGregor walking in there. Obviously that's not the way it worked out. What was your kind of, you watch the fight live the other night, and what was your kind of reaction to the fight watching it?
Well, it started, it was what a fight.
Yeah.
What an incredible fight. Like, even the build up to it, and even like the idea of like even the two of them walking, when they stood in the cage together, I was like, I haven't had this feeling.
These are the two best in their prime.
You know what I mean? I haven't had this feeling in ages. I think it was like way back when, when GSP and all used to come out, and you know when you're watching them fights where you were like, well, maybe this is the day. I got that feeling there that this was, and then again, as I said, you have a friend in there as well, and I'm a fan as well, because how can you not be? the man is incredible, you know what I mean? He drags you to the sport. He drags everybody to the sport, and I'm already in it. I get dragged more in. But I think it was a good fight. I thought Conor was gonna the way the first round went when he did get taken down. I wasn't too concerned because I was like, it's gonna happen. And John said it on Joe Rogan really well as well about the idea of there's gonna be a few takedowns, and the first ones are gonna be his best. And Khabib did kind of fade off in the later rounds. So I was thinking maybe at the end of the second or the third that Conor can start landing them shots. And even in the third, you see it starts this shift and he starts landing the shots. Like, yes, this is it. You know what I mean? He's hitting them now, and he defended the first takedown. And I even say it to my own guys coming up now that, especially at their level, if a guy's coming out to take you down and you just focus on defending it and making him fail, he can nearly break himself.
It's exhausting. People don't realize how exhausting it is.
And especially at a smaller level, if you say, go to the body then rather than trying to take his head off after that, like, a guy will, and it nearly he'd break himself, you know what I mean? Or, say somebody tries to take you down, and then you make them fail to take down, you go straight away and take them down. That's a big mental break. It's everything. If you end up on top after that, you've probably won, Mike, at that level. Do you know what I mean? But at Conor and Khabib level, it's so much like where he takes him down. Khabib doesn't want to waste too much energy because he knows that this takedown's probably not going to be the finishing takedown where we're going to be getting back up. And he did that really well. Yeah. He held on, but he didn't squeeze, he chilled, and he grappled when he needed to grapple, and he threw shots when he needed to throw shots. And I think he was very, very clever with it. But Conor done incredibly well. Like, he's in there against a bigger guy as well. And a guy that has that style it's a hard guy to deal with. It's not a nice style to look at, but it's effective.
It was funny hearing Nick Diaz talk about it. Nick Diaz talk about it afterwards and saying, you know, whatever way the Diaz brothers talk about it.
We miss all this. We miss all this stuff because
yeah, but those lads are fighters. Those two boys are just. I love the two of them. I think they're fantastic to watch, and you can see the respect there between the two camps, even when all the shit talk is happening. Yeah, him kind of saying it isn't a pretty style to watch, but it is. Yeah, it is so effective. But Conor didn't look like he was freaking out at all. Like, he looked so relaxed. He was like right, and like Owen and John and Sergey had obviously prepared him really well for that. Yeah,
definitely. You could see that, like, you know, and even like against the fence, he was defending Khabib, connecting his hands together, and that was working so well. You know what I mean? The idea of keeping the hands together. I done a little breakdown with Dan Hardy the week before it. Yeah. And a few things that we were talking about came up in that straight away. You could see what it was. He was trying to get Conor's wrist on the opposite side, and he couldn't kind of get his wrist. So he goes back to that point of the legs thing. So it was either one or two. That's what he does really well. He either gets your wrist and then throws those ground and pound and forgets about the legs. Yeah. Or if he can't get the wrist, he ties up the legs. And while he has the legs tied up and you're trying to undo the legs, he gets the wrist. And that's what we were talking
Dave, who does production in this show, actually asked me about, he's like, what do you think the odds are on a Kimura? I was like, it's not going to happen. It's like a team going in for the Kimura. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, and even in them little moments, as I said, like, fair play to Conor. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
nobody realises, and this is the thing as well, nobody realises what it's like when an athlete like that fighting somebody like that. And this is kind of really what I want to get to, because, look, there's always going to be naysayers, I think, particularly with this sport, and particularly when you have the kind of personality that Conor McGregor has. It's why people want to watch him. You know, they want to watch him lose or they want to watch him win. You know, that's why he's as popular as he is. That's why he's a superstar. That's why you've got the most famous people in the world cage side. At the end of the day as well, he still has to get in there and fight the best in the world now. Like, Khabib's 27-0 now.
Yes. Like,
it's insane. It's that frustrating to kind of see for somebody who knows firsthand what it's like to be in there at a main event in the UFC. To hear kind of, like, to see, we talked about it at the start, but to see kind of some of the headlines, some of these hot takes and opinions that are ill-informed or just not informed at all.
This is it. I think any journalist that writes something in the newspaper should have to do a round. That's what I say. But just even around the grappling, you know what I mean? It's not easy. You see people saying, why didn't he just pull his arm off? Why didn't he just get up? Why didn't I think of that? So, of course, like, this is if you don't know anything about this sport, you're making an idiot of yourself because you're saying stuff that's like, why didn't the goalkeeper just stop the ball going into the net? Yeah, because he was trying. That's where it works, and it's like, it's only until you realise how much of an athletic and like a skill that is, that you shouldn't make a comment on it until you know. We don't comment on what Rory McIlroy is doing when he's hitting the golf. You know what I mean? I'm like, he knows what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? I'd be the last one to be saying, like, Jesus, Lordy, how did you lose that for us or something, you know? Because they don't know what I'm talking about. And you have people that are actually getting paid by newspapers, and some of the stuff they write is terrible, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of newspapers yesterday were about what happened after the thing, rather than about the fight, or about, listen, this young fella's from Crumlin. This young fella came up and literally he fought Floyd Mayweather, and they're like, yeah, but that was a circus, and that was this. He fought Floyd Mayweather, mate. He's from Crumlin, you know what I mean? He's one of ours, he's one of our own.
John talked about that in Rogan's podcast. We were sitting there going, I can't believe, and Owens talked about it as well. We're like, he's fighting Floyd Mayweather.
Well, he was the same. I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, him and Floyd Mayweather are in the ring, like, you know what I mean? And I was sitting not too far from it, but it was mental. But then even there, I'm sitting at that fight, and there's a guy sitting in front of me, and he was annoying me, Mike. I'll tell you a little story about this guy. He had a full white suit on, right? And he was watching the fight through his phone, right? Watching the fight through his phone. I was sitting and like, obviously Conor got me the tickets for him, but they're like worth 20 grand or something, you know what I mean, the tickets. And he's watching the fight through his phone, and he's commentating, and he's doing all this, and I'm like, mate, will you stop? I'm saying, she's like, leave him alone. And I'm like, hey, watch the fucking fight. You know what I mean? He's watching it through his phone. He was annoying me to death, he was. But yeah.
He wasn't able to take in that experience.
Yes, he's watching it through his
this is like one of the biggest fights in combat sports history.
And he's watching it through his screen, you know? Like, and if you watch a lot of the stuff, you watch anything that happens now, it's like, boom, it's all surrounded by, and everyone's watching what's going actually on through a screen.
They're thinking what they can get for Instagram or Twitter or
yeah, it's all of these, and it's like if there's 20 of us doing the same video at the same time, we all have it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's a video that's like exclusive or something like that. So people forget when it comes down to it that it is a sport. It is a fighting sport. It's going to get heated. That's the way it's going to go. Sometimes, you know what I mean, and there's goods and there's bads, and you have guys taking their jocks off saying that the balls are hot. You know what I mean? Like that was brilliant. You know, so there's so many different little stories and snippets that can come from it. And
that was all one event.
Yes, yeah, that was all one event.
The beast.
And the guys that are signing up for it, the guys like say myself as a fighter and Conor and Khabib and all this. It's like, we're fighters, been fighting for a long, long time, and like getting punched and kicked and stuff like that and all. If that makes you like, that's probably you. Do you know what I mean? Same way I don't eat foods that makes me go like that.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like it sometimes, I'm not saying turn over the channel, but you have to, before you're going to say something about it, or you're going to make like a judgment where, especially if you have power with a newspaper, you should really question that. There's guys making, this is their job, that was my job, it was, and this is their jobs. And
there's good been done as well.
You know, a lot of good being done. Yeah. You can say as much as you want about the bad, as long as you say equally about the good. And that's what I say. But as I said at the start, that kind of media doesn't get that attention. And I don't know where it is. It's just the human instinct, I think.
Where do you think MMA is going now in Ireland? I asked Roddy the same question in August when we spoke to him. Where do you think it's going to go? Because Conor signed a 6-fight deal he signed. And obviously, every time Conor fights, there's a zoom, and I'm sure you see it in the gym.
Yeah.
I'm sure when there's leading up to a Conor fight, there's more people looking to come in and train. So where do you think the sport is going? You've got young guys in the gym who you know can be superstars in the sport in a few years' time, or at least have the potential to be.
Yeah.
But there's less events around Ireland now for different reasons. So is the sport going to continue to grow, do you think, or are we still leaning too heavily on Conor?
I think the sport to grow needs more events. I think that would be a huge part, you know what I mean? Like, if I had, there used to be a time where there was 2 events on a weekend, you know what I mean? And now the events are dying off, but now I don't know whether that's to do with I won't say the complications, but the regulations to do with like making the sport safer, which I agree with, you know what I mean? It's like they're once-off things, and they get the medicals. It's one of the safest countries in the world to do MMA in. But
you have to have your scans, you have to have everything before the gyms for safe MMA before people agree to fight.
Yes, but you'd be stupid to say that it hasn't affected the amount of shows, because now promoters are looking at their profit and the number and stuff like that, and it's not matching up anymore. Now, a good thing in that is that it kind of switched to now the shows that are around are the ones that are for the fighters, you know? Well, you know, when I was coming up, like, the guys that were putting the shows on, they were the only ones making money, you know what I mean? Like, I fought 2 lads on a contract for €500. Do you know what I'm saying? And I know
you
for
prepared
a fact,
for 6 weeks, 8 weeks for each fight? Yeah.
That was it, €500. And it was probably spent before I had all the loans out and all before it, you know? But I needed that €500. But the idea of, as I said, the promoters were making a lot more money back in the day there, and if they had pushed maybe into the fighters a little bit more as well, like looked after the fighters a little bit more, that it would have helped the sport a little bit better. Now, as I said, I think it's dropped off a little bit because there's not as much profit in promoting a show. But I think that's a good thing as well because you're doing it for the right reasons.
Well, there's that thin line between amateur and professional as well. All it really was the timing of the rounds, you know?
Yes.
You were wearing, you know, slightly heavier gloves, and that was really it. So can you see maybe going to the tournament format? Where it's in gyms and it's like you get the experience of competing and it can be every week or two, maybe there's headgear, maybe there isn't.
I think that's a great idea. Like but the idea, as I said, the regulation of that's hard to get as well because it's like if these guys yes, we should be able to do shows like that in the gym and stuff like that, but then it has to make sure that the right medical staff and all is there, and that
still costs money.
That's expensive. I think it's €2,000 or something like that. You know what I mean? To have the whole set up there, but it needs to be there as well, which is it's hard to go on one side or the other. But I think, as I said, the shows have dropped off because there's not as much profit in making what they are now. The IMMAF and the IMMA things that's incredible. You know what I mean? Now there's guys that go away to the Europeans and the Worlds and stuff like that, but that's expensive, Mike. You know what I mean? That's still expensive. There's guys still like one of my lads is after getting a chance on the World Championships thing in Bahrain, and we're going out now. It's expensive, you know what I mean? For me, it's nearly €1,600, and that's my flights, and I have to register as a coach, which is a lot of money, and he has to register as a fighter. So probably between us is nearly €3,000. It's two people
to compete, just to compete.
I just have to stand there screaming advice, and I have to pay £800 for it. Do you know what I'm saying? So. It would be really nice to have a load of local shows like that were the IMMAF standard, and maybe they were on the same day, and tournaments that were set up on the same day in a place where you could win the Irish champion. You could become the Irish champion in IMMAF, you know what I mean? IMMA. And then we won't have to depend on the shows that are like with the lights and you know what I mean? Because the Irish Championship, the Dublin Championships, the All-Ireland Championships.
Bellator are kind of doing that tournament format again now as well. I mean, obviously on a much bigger scale, but it makes a lot more sense in that at least the fights are structured a bit more like traditional martial arts. That tournament format, because I think people as well, even subconsciously, make that association with, it's ridiculous as it sounds. It's like the Karate Kid. You move on to the next level, you move on to the next round.
There's a lot more that needs to be done where there's from visually that it's definitely amateur. Do you get what I mean? I think the idea of meeting up in a hall, and like when we used to meet up, it used to be on a mat. It used to be MMA league, you know what I mean? There was no headshots and stuff like that. Now, I don't have a different opinions about that as well, because if you become the MMA league champion, that means your styles, it doesn't really, then all of a sudden you
get punched. Realistic. If you're going to go on and fight,
well, if you're doing martial arts to defend yourself and you're in a rules where no one's throwing a body shot in the street, you know what I mean? You need to be able to defend yourself and keep your hands up. So there has to be some sort of way where guys are not fighting every single weekend, but there is, like, as I said, an All-Ireland Championships where it's on in a hall. The championships is played out maybe in 3 or 4 days, like say the Wacko in like City West or something like that. Like that's the way that is done, and we're not relying, as I said, on little shows or to get guys experience, or going up to North, or going to England, and then it all changes again. There's different rules in different places, and it's a bit confusing at times. You know what I mean? And if it's confusing for us, I know it's confusing for other people. I think if somebody's walking out on a show with MMA gloves on and shin pads and stuff like that, the fans don't really know the difference between professional and amateur, you know. But I know for a fact if we're turning up at a conference centre and there's 4 cages set out and there's a guy on a mic saying, "Can Paddy Holohan come to round 3, or cage 3, you know?" It's
that professionalism outside of the training and outside of the fighting. It's everything kind of around the competing.
Yes.
That really gives it that professional shine.
To me, that's professionalism with amateur.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So a professional approach to an amateur game, you know what I mean? Rather than like professionals and amateurs in the same field, but just, no, you're an amateur, you're a professional.
Yeah.
And the only difference between that is gloves, rounds, and money.
Yeah. 2 minutes longer, slightly lighter gloves,
2 minutes longer,
and a little bit of money if you're lucky.
Yeah. So now, and not that I have any problem with that. I think what the IMMAF doing and all that stuff is brilliant. It really is, because it's like if I had been coming up and I had a chance to go fight for the Irish team in the World Championships, and I'd be like, whoa, this is great. But then I wouldn't want it in a way of where like it was like, yeah, you get all them good things, but I wouldn't have the money to pay for it. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't have, you know, like, and people say, yeah, set GoFundMe's up and set, or or let's sort of figure out a way where we can make
sponsorship or
where the
something.
Irish team gets some sort of funding from the shows that are going on around, or some sort of kind of like if there's going to be guys making money off MMA, that goes in towards a fund that is for the Irish team, and that fund gets the people who get on them teams get chosen through fighting, through an Irish championships, or through like a multi, like an All Ireland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where there's Hulsa, Munster, Leinster and Connacht, then there's a fighter from each one of them, or a few fighters.
Well, it's clear then, right? This is the best guy in Connacht. This is the best guy in
Yes.
Ulster. This is the best girl, whatever. And
So it's not
yeah.
like such and such's club has chosen to use all the fund on their fighters, or he or she, or you know.
Yeah.
So there's a big, huge community. There is a community in MMA, but it just needs to be a little bit tighter. It needs to be a little bit more knitted together, and the communication a lot better. And I think that the growth of the sport depends on that. Depends on the communication between everybody.
Are you optimistic we'll get there?
Like anything, I think everything just gets there, no matter what. You know
Just
what
how
I mean?
long it takes.
Yeah, well, it's not in a situation where it's desperately needs to be fixed now. You know what I mean? I think guys are still getting to fight, and guys that want to fight will find fights, and there are these shows. Like Cage Legacy is a great show. It's a smaller one. It's coming up. You know, there needs to be more of them. You know what I mean? Like I don't know whether like Battle Zone used to be a great show for fighters, and Andy used to put that on in a way of like
Andy
where
Ryan, yeah.
it wasn't a big like profit-making show. I'd say it was like how do we get fighters qualified to see who goes to the IMAF, or to see who does all of this kind of stuff. So it's still kind of getting together as it is, but it's 10 times better than what it was when we were coming up. So
You've seen progress there already,
100%.
massively. You were there from
And
the
anybody
start.
that's put the work in, there's loads of people volunteering, putting the work in, and people like, you see people like kind of like trying to challenge these people and stuff like that. And it's like, a lot of these guys are volunteering, and they're volunteering to try and make the sport a better place, you know what I mean? Now, as I said, it's nothing to do with them. If the IMMF are charging an expensive registration fee or something, that's nothing to do, because they have to pay it too.
Yeah.
Them boys are not like volunteering and then getting this for free either, Mike, you know. They have to go and pay their own back, and they might be coaching on the Irish team, but they have to pay the registration to go and coach on the Irish team, you know what I mean?
It's like paying to work almost, like, or something that you want to be your job. That's it.
Well, it's an amateur sport, but you're paying to be a coach. Like, it'd be like, how crazy would it be if one of our Olympic coaches was paying to be an Olympic coach? Or,
The outrage, yeah.
Outrage, absolute, like, it wouldn't be heard of, like, you know, if say GAA being amateur, like, if the manager was paying to be the manager, people would be like, that's weird.
You're paying
You know what I mean? Or paying to be the coach. It just happens to be that we don't have teams that we have individual fighters. So if you have 5 fighters going over, well, then it benefits you. But if you have one going over, it becomes an expensive affair, it does, for people.
Paddy, look, thanks a million for coming in.
Pleasure.
I've always been a fan of yours as a fighter, and I'm a fan of you as a host now as well. I love the podcast. The podcast is great crack.
So I'm enjoying it, really.
Yeah, and I think the best thing about the podcast with you is, and you see this with lots of people try and do them. You're yourself.
Yeah.
You're the same kind of offer as you are on there. And the lads in the gym, remember the people that had come over to me to say, "Hey, John, Paddy's podcast." I was like, "Here, Paddy, on my podcast now."
Yeah. No, it is, man. You had to pay back the networking.
Networking, that's what it is, Paddy.
That's what it is. But it's great, man.
You're a legend. Thanks for coming in,
Pleasure.
Paddy.
Thank you very much.